Beard's coming. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna hammer these Q&As. If you have like questions, you can drop them in the box. Try to get to as many as you can. So is the splitter a good replacement for a changeup? Absolutely. So this is actually a common thing that me personally have struggled with, along with a ton of other people that I've come into contact with, is just like the inability to really feel for a good changeup, right? Because I think everyone knows like the changeup is a feel pitch, meaning like you need to create a crazy amount of feel for that pitch to feel comfortable, because we know that that if you're not comfortable with the pitch, then the likelihood of you throwing it and the likelihood of you throwing it well is going to be very, very low, right? So I would always encourage guys that struggle with the feel for a changeup, a circle change, a straight change, whatever, to play around with the splitter, because I feel like the splitter makes it very simplistic on the actual like mindset of throwing it, right? Just because like I feel like when there's a changeup, there's a lot of fingers involved, right? There's a lot of things happening on the ball. Whereas a splitter, you got 2 fingers and there's not really much to it. You're just letting it eat, right? So absolutely. Yo, what up, dude? Heavy ball, just watch you throw. Let's see, I got another question. Okay, so absolutely, this is something that I want to do more stuff on moving forward with my online presence, is putting a huge emphasis on the mental game, right? Hey, you too, man. Hope all is well. Good seeing you, brother. But putting a huge emphasis on the mental game, just because like we're so, especially in 2020, with like all of these different training modalities that we have, and all of the facilities and all the things that we could use to better our physical preparation, that kind of puts the mental preparation and the mental stuff on the back burner, right? And it's like we all kind of know that the mental game is a huge piece to baseball, right? So as far as like helping from the mental part, my biggest point of emphasis, guys, is to put something into practice from the mental standpoint. How can we improve our mental game, right? Well, first we have to have a foundation that's going to allow us to remain passionate about what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. What up, dude? Meaning like if you don't have a good foundation for why you play the game, then yeah, you throw one bad pitch and it's going to be over, because you know that's just like the way that it goes, right? Like if you're not extremely passionate about I would say like pitching or hitting or stuff that's like actually bringing you joy, then it's going to be a roller coaster ride, because you're constantly relying on the good performances to then carry you into your work ethic, right? So, but again, for me, the mental game is something that needs to be practiced, meaning like, where do you struggle? Are you someone that struggles with too much thought, right? Like too much thought in the head when you're in performance, that's now taking away from your ability to perform? If that's the case, then you need to put into practice a systematic approach in which you can then turn off your thought process and then rely on flow, right? Which is the ability to just like not think and just rely on your action, right? Let your body take over and let you, the way that I like put it into words is like, just go out there and trust that you've prepared accordingly, and trust that you're 100% ready to take on, you know, whatever task it is that you need to take on, hitting, pitching, whatever. But that's my biggest piece of emphasis, is like identify where, like what piece in the game of baseball that is prohibiting you from being your best, and then take that piece and find a way that you can then focus on developing that, right? Because I think one problem is the identification never, or let's put it this way, the identification isn't there, meaning like kind of just don't really know as a player like what it is that you absolutely struggle with. So that's a problem. The second problem is you identify what you struggle with, but then you don't know how to incorporate like a systematic approach to better yourself, right? And then the third one is you identify what is going wrong, you identify the problem, but then you also identify like 18 other things, and this is me, and then you try to work on like all of those other things at once, but you overload the brain, so then you get nowhere, right? So that's a huge piece. Collab with Trevor Bauer. I would love that. First start tonight, what grip do I use for my changeup? Go on my website, link in the bio. I have a whole changeup breakdown. It shows you everything. First start tonight, 14U. What stuff should I be looking for to perform at the top of my game? So that is a process. Again, it's tough when you're talking about like a younger guy because I don't want to get too complex with a thought process. My thing, dude, go have fun, man. Like the game should bring you so much joy. Right? And like obviously the game is also going to bring a lot of stress because there's this anxiety towards performance, right? We work hard to then perform, to then look good. We're performers essentially, right? So when that goes bad, there's like this sense of embarrassment that then brings about anxiety towards your future your future performance. So find a way to like, how can we then take that, acknowledge, and then get it out, right? The only way that I've found for me personally to have success with that approach is to bring about a mindset of complete gratitude and allow the game to be as beautiful as it is, right? Like obviously we don't want to go out and we don't want to suck. We know that. But like, what can we then take as a controllable factor to then focus on and then really take away the anxieties of performance by then just only focusing on the controllables? Meaning, if we have all of the things that we can control, the work ethic, the pitch selection, you know, the delivery, the approach, the scouting report, like whatever it is, if we can control all that, as soon as this ball leaves the fingertips, like it's over, dude. We now have to live with everything that we've done leading up to that point. And if you can do that, then you're fine. Then you'll be able to play this game for a while. But if you're constantly in self-doubt, if you're constantly not having fun due to the lack of performance, then there is a conversation to be had in regards to like, what do you love about the game? What is it about the game of baseball that brought you to it in the first place? You know what I mean? But as a 14-year-old, just to round that up, like Chad Martin's the GOAT. Love that guy. Have fun, man, and like enjoy the competition and enjoy like the team chemistry, camaraderie. You know, have fun, trust your preparation, and compete, dude. You know, like just simple as that. Compete. So this is where it gets interesting, right? So I cleaned up my mechanics and somehow my velo has seemed to drop a couple miles an hour. Now, this is a super normal thing. One, cleaned up mechanics is subjective, right? So like, what is the foundation for like cleaning up your delivery just because it looked good or like it looks better or it compares better to somebody else? Because there's a lot of things within the delivery that like certain people do that certain other people can't do, but then they try to do it and it doesn't work for them, right? So like the whole cleaning up mechanics, like it's subjective and you need to find what best works for you. But I will say the flip side of that is more oftentimes than not, and I see this a lot with guys, is they go through a process of like mechanical optimization and then they get back and they're starting testing their velos and it's lower, but it's not because of their mechanical approach, right? It's because of that. Think about the mentality for so long of you cleaning up your mechanics, right? Very kind of standoffish, not standoffish, but like very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Frick words are fun. Not full, like on the gas pedal approach, right? Because in order for us to clean up our mechanics, we can't be balls to the wall all the time. Like we need to be feeling things and creating feelings for feedback. So then your body starts to adapt to that, and now you need to just train the intensity, right, and the intent with your new motor control patterns. So I would say it's completely normal. Whoa, dude, that was a catch and a half. My thing just fell though. We'll get it. We'll get it back. Look at that. We're in there. Okay, so great question. What are some ways I can gain acceleration, forward momentum from the stretch without rushing? Now, again, rushing is subjective because you look at someone like Sonny Gray, who could very well be in a category of rushing because he's moving so quick out of the stretch. But the only thing that makes it rushing is hand acceleration. Absolutely, dude, for sure. Is the beard on the way? Dude, look how fast this thing's grown. So I always teach hand acceleration. So hand acceleration and front foot tempo, right? So we won't be rushing if our hand is A, connected to our body, and B, moving in a tempo that's matching the lead foot, right? So I would say start from increasing forward momentum and acceleration and see what your hand / arm does, right? So that's where my mechanical analysis service is so, I'm obviously biased, but like that's why it's so crucial, because I could give you the feedback on like, hey, you're disconnected because your hand isn't matching up or your arm isn't matching up with your body, so therefore you're having to rush, and then your hand is inconsistent in the slot, right? So if your body is moving at a tempo that isn't matching your arm's tempo, then we have a disconnect, right? Because I see a lot of times guys try to increase forward momentum and add their acceleration in their windup, which is great, or their delivery, which is great, but then they haven't yet looked at what the hand is doing as far as a consistent slot. Good question though. That's a really good question. I'm gonna hammer that. So did I find it hard to bring back my in-game intensity after being out of the game for a couple years? The reason that I'm gonna say no is because I do so much like visualization prep work in bullpens. I think you guys have seen that for a while now, meaning like when I'm throwing bullpens, I have such a good imagination that I could be like, all right, freaking let's go, 4, 5, 6, 7, top 8, like whatever. I can put myself in that just because I've intentionally practiced that. And so when I'm out there in the game, yeah, it changes, like the environment changes obviously, and you recognize that. But my mind is like, yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, right? Just because there is a physical being in the box doesn't necessarily mean it's a completely different animal, right? So great question, but for me, no. I'm sure for a lot of other people, absolutely. Best thing to do if you don't have a throwing partner, throw by yourself, don't make excuses. Go to my website, go to the search bar and type in throwing alone. I have a ton of videos on how I can go about that. Couple videos with a net, couple videos without a net, couple videos with a couple, like all that stuff. Does forcing lead leg blocking cause Tommy John? I would not pinpoint it towards one specific injury, but I will say that forcing knee extension can potentially lead to other breakdowns. My most effective pitch is the pitch in which I induce soft contact or miss a bat, right? So that is going to vary per outing. Like my last outing, I had the nastiest changeup I think I've ever had in my whole entire career. But up until that point, I hadn't even thrown a changeup in a game. Do you think it's super important to get low into your hip? I would ask to like specify what that actually means, but I do think it's important to load up and store energy in the big muscle group of your drive leg. Just got Tommy John, any advice to stay healthy? Yeah, look at your volume of throwing. And then get your throwing mechanics screened to make sure that when you do come back that you're going about the throwing process the right way. I don't know how to improve a knuckleball. Scap load versus shoulder counter rotation. So the only thing that I say about shoulder or trunk counter rotation is you got to be really careful, because I see a lot of kids that will try to either force scap load, which then induces trunk counter rotation, or force trunk counter rotation to then delay their trunk from rotating early, which I think both result into a very aggressive trunk rotation, because again, your body is trying to adapt to what normal movement patterns is. The solution isn't to overemphasize one or the other. The solution is to instill new motor patterns and reteach your body how to move, especially on a slope. Where do I draw the line between forward momentum and leaking forward? Great question. Hand connectivity, arm connectivity, and stabilization of the drive leg is 100% where I draw the line. More so the stabilization of the drive leg, because I myself actually struggle with forward momentum without drive leg stability. If you guys watch a couple of my videos, you'll actually see like I don't do a good job of stabilizing drive leg when I'm increasing my forward move. So I would say that's a huge thing. Can you practice sequencing on your own by judging from pitcher perspective? I would always say you can practice sequencing on your own. Absolutely. How else would you practice? Any mechanical advice for a sidearm submarine guy? Yes, so I get a ton of questions about that, and it's my bad. I need to do a mechanical breakdown on that. But yes, I do have a lot of advice for that. I'll actually, let's do that today, right? Like let's hammer that today. So I have a couple videos. I have a couple videos like on deck. That will be good. Average speed for a high school freshman, I have no idea. Go to my YouTube and type in how hard should I be throwing. I just posted a video on that. I'm 15 and I struggle with getting my curveball and changeup in the zone, and I have to depend on my fastball. Is there any other pitches I should work on and give? So this is a common misconception in regards to like pitch optimization, really. You're 15, you're going to struggle with off-speed pitches because you probably just started throwing with them. Don't try to then reinvent the wheel and think about a different pitch you can throw. You just need to stay on course and stick with the process of like developing those pitches, man. Like that's just the nature of the beast, right? Anytime we start throwing something new, like it's frustrating because it's not exactly where you want it. It's like with anything, right? Like if I'm going to try to pick up a guitar, I'm going to try to play it, like I'm not going to sound like John Mayer right off the bat, right? I may freaking sound vocally like him, but I'm not going to play like him. But it's a process, and I think, again, as I mentioned, the thing that I would say like not to do is don't get discouraged, and then after a couple weeks of throwing a pitch you're not seeing results, like can it? Yes, obviously we want to sit there and be like, all right, is this the grip? Is this a comfortable grip? Is this grip giving me exactly the spin that I want on the baseball? Can I repeat that? Okay. Once you get the grip and once you get the familiarity with it and the comfort, then it'll make it a little bit easier. How do you throw a curveball but not curving your wrist? Literally think about hammer, right? Like if you're going to hammer a nail, it's the same thing. I mean, for me, I'm thinking stiff wrist, and I'm thinking take this meat part of my hand and I'm trying to accelerate that down, and I'm trying to match my deceleration with how I would want the spin on my baseball. How do you help your changeup in humid weather? So this is something that I had to grind with because I was 7 months in California where it was very dry, and then with my changeup when I got here, obviously humid, and I made a couple excuses, and then people bagged on me, and I was like, whatever. But for me, I was just like constantly either blowing air on my fingers to create a little bit of dryness, or dirt, whatever. I can't do rosin, I will say. If I do rosin with the sweat on my palm already, it will make more sticky tackiness, and that's what I don't want. So I will do a little bit of dirt if need be, and then that will create a little bit better feeling for my changeup and exactly what I want. But everyone's different. I mean, some people like stick, some people like, whatever. I don't know. My knuckleball is terrible. How do I change my workout so I'm not tight and stiff to add mobility to hips? Well, think about it this way, dude. Like if your workouts, I would say, are making you stiff and tight, then you're probably not moving well. I would say it's a movement issue over like the actual exercise choices issue. Is short arm action better than long arm action? I don't know if it's necessarily a question of better or worse or good or bad. It's about what's optimal for you. I have a full breakdown on the website. Go to my website, therobbyrowshow.com. Type in the search bar like arm action. long arm, short arm. Like, there's so much content on that. That's, I mean, it's just crazy, man. Okay, so the question got cut off, but this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while. I have solid mechanics, and I've never had an issue finding the strike zone, but all of a sudden you do, okay? So here's the thing. If you've never had an issue of like throwing strikes, if that's a thing that you've always said like you've done pretty well on, then it's not a physical issue, right? It's like, it's between the ears, because as soon as something goes wrong, then we try to like make it go right by over stimulating like your brainwaves / thought process. And that's more oftentimes than not, when you amplify the issue, that issue then becomes exacerbated, right? And then what happens is you add more internal pressure, and then more internal pressure, more internal pressure. It's like quicksand, right? There's a very common issue, you start sinking a little bit. The harder you try, right? From a mental standpoint, the harder you try, the more pressure you put on yourself, the deeper and deeper you sink, right? So like, I know it's easy to say, but trust the fact that you've done it thousands of times in your life and you can still do it, right? So I know it's easy to say, dude, trust me, I've been there. So the pitch logic, code Robby, R-O-B-B-Y. I believe that they changed it to a discount code now. I could be wrong, but if they hadn't, it's still a rebate, and I believe it's like you get 10 to 15%. And I think the discount code is the same. Like I said, I believe that they changed it to a discount code instead of a rebate code, but the code is still R-O-B-B-Y. My two seam doesn't move at all, and I throw harder from third base and behind the plate than on the mound. Two seam doesn't move at all, why are you throwing it? Two seam is supposed to move, and if it doesn't move, then why are you throwing it? Throw a four seam. Or if your two seam actually portrays better as like a two seam, four seam, then keep throwing your two seam. You throw harder from third base and behind the plate because you're probably throwing like an athlete when you're actually in a position, and then when you get on a mound, you probably decrease your tempo and you defy gravity, and therefore you lose your athletic ability and you lose your acceleration, and therefore your power output is diminished. That's all a guess because I don't know, I haven't seen video of you, but more oftentimes than not, I would speculate that that is the issue. I just turned 15 and I'm currently throwing mid-70s and wanted to know if there's anything I can do to increase throwing velocity. I want to let you know that there's absolutely things you can do to increase your throwing velocity. Thank you. How can I get more velo on my fastball? I'm a freshman in high school. Multiple things. I would start with going to my website and typing in velocity. Yes, I have a velocity development ebook, but I also have like 4 to 5, maybe 12,000 pages on velocity development and things you can do to increase your velocity and things that I've done to increase my velocity. Be sure to go check that out. All you got to do is like sign up for a free account, and that's it. All right, I'm heading out, guys. I got to get to work. I got my analysis guys today. I got 3 of them. If you want mechanical analysis stuff, go to my link in the bio of my Instagram account and type in, or you don't have to type in anything. You literally scroll like 2 blocks and it says, work with me. I've been doing a lot of analysis while I've been here. It's been fun. So be sure to go do that if you want to sign up for an analysis. I'm going to do a submarine breakdown today, and I'm trying to put together a ebook on like a complete guide to pitching mechanics, things that I look for, and I'm also trying to do an ebook on how to optimize like your arm action and your hand path. Okay, all right. Love you guys. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you.